Tony, why is your niche better than other people's?
We invest in single family short-term rentals and now boutique hotels as well. You can get outsized returns for a relatively small amount, right? Like some people want to go into commercial and they think about mobile home parks, they think about buying apartment complexes, and you get bigger returns when you do those things, but a lot of times it's more cash out of pocket as well. I'll give you guys a quick rundown on the boutique hotel, but we picked that property up for just under $1 million. And last month we did just over 40K in revenue on that hotel. If we can hit our projections on that thing, it should be worth about $2.5 million in the next like 18-ish months if we can kind of get to where we want to go.
Hey, this is the Better Life Podcast with Brandon Turner and Cam Cathcart. This is a special Friday episode we call Cash Flow Fridays, where we interview people on one specific investment strategy that produces phenomenal cash flow in this market. This show is meant to be short, sweet, to the point, so you can implement it right away into your life. Without further ado, let's get to the episode. You know, one of the hardest lessons I've learned in building my real estate business is this: I can't do everything on my own. And trust me, I have tried. I was that guy wearing all the hats: acquisition, property management, marketing. I even tried my hand at bookkeeping, which by the way is not a great idea. It was not until I embraced the art of delegation that things really started to take off for me. I actually remember hiring my very first virtual assistant. And then I realized right away, why did I wait so long to do this? And honestly, I was amazed at how great they were. They're better than me at most things they did. And in fact, that first VA is still with me today, 10 years later. Now, suddenly I had time to focus on bigger picture things, scaling the business, finding more deals, and honestly spending more time with the family. And that is why I'm excited to tell you about our sponsor today, HireTrainVA.com. So these guys have cracked the code on finding top tier virtual assistants for the real estate investing world. They go through a brutal selection process. Only 1% to 2% of applicants make it through, so you know you're getting the best of the best. And they've got this really cool draft board where you can actually handpick from the top talent that they've already sourced and vetted. It's like having your own personal dream team at your fingertips. And if you're unsure where to start or how to delegate right, they've got you covered with a free guide on 100+ tasks that you can start delegating today. Just head over to HireTrainVA.com. You know, I believe in them so much that their owner, Valentina Brega, is a friend of mine. I actually brought her on the podcast a while back. It's on episode 42, so if you want to check that out, go listen to a masterclass on how to hire and work with virtual assistants. So hey, if you want the fast track on hiring your first VA, but you don't know where to start, just shoot me a DM over on Instagram with the word delegate. Just delegate, and I'll hook you up with some of the same resources that transformed my business. Stop wearing all the hats and scale faster. Hire a VA, free up your time, and scale your business. Go to HireTrainVA.com or hit me up on Instagram with the word delegate. It's time to take that next step in your business. Now, back to the show. Tony Robinson, man, it's so good to have you on the show.
Guys, I appreciate you having me on. Excited. I get both of you guys. I'm like double dipping today. This will be a good time.
Two's way better than one. So, all right. No jokes. Hey, let's jump right into the fast five. We're now going back to five. We went 5, then we went 4. Now we're back to 5. Still trying to find our groove with these Cash Flow Friday episodes. But Tony Robinson, let's start out with, well, first of all, we should make a distinction. You are not Tony Robbins, correct? Does that happen?
I am not. Yeah, I've disappointed a lot of people. So I'm Tony J. Robinson, not Tony Robbins.
Yes. Yeah, not the same as Tony Robbins. You are much better looking, but a much not as deep of a voice. But you got a deep voice too. Maybe that's like a Tony thing.
Maybe it is. Huh?
Anyway, all right. What is your? I'm gonna say niche. Do you say niche or niche, Tony?
I'm a niche guy, so I'm sorry, Cam. Niche
Cam.
all the way, man.
Cam can't win. No one's saying niche.
There are the educated people, the smart people, the sophisticated people.
So, Tony, you and I are not educated. No. All right. What is your niche?
Yeah, so we invest in single family short-term rentals and now boutique hotels as well.
Yeah, that's right. I love the boutique hotel.
Love that. Tony, where are you primarily investing at?
So right now we are in 3 different states all around national parks. So we're in California, Tennessee, and Utah.
Very cool. What kind of returns do you see with short-term rentals or boutique hotels? Wherever you want to take that question.
Yeah.
What does profit look like? What can somebody do?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Now with the boutique hotel, I mean, I'll give you guys a quick rundown on the boutique hotel, but we picked that property up for just under $1 million. And last month we did just over 40K in revenue on that hotel. And expenses are pretty light, you know, because we've got on-site staff. So, dude, I don't know. It's if we can hit our projections on that thing, it should be worth about 2.5 million in the next like 18-ish months if we can kind of get to where we want to go. So pretty
Wait,
solid.
how much did you put into it?
We bought it for $1 million. Down payment and like renovations was 600K. Yeah, man, that's pretty much it.
Dude, that is insane.
Yeah, there's huge opportunity. That's because it's a commercial property, right? So you increase the valuation by increasing the income or the net operating income.
Dude, that was a big reason why we wanted to get into it. You know,
cash flowing a ridiculous.
Well, what about a short-term rental? Like, do those still? I mean, the question is, do those still work today? Like, are there still profits to be made in short-term rentals, or is that game over?
No, most definitely, man. I think a lot of it comes down to the market, though, right? Like, in some markets have definitely become saturated. You know, we've seen that in our portfolio in some markets as well, but there are other markets that are still chugging along. There are other markets that are still growing. So I think when I'm telling folks to buy short-term rentals today, don't go to Disney just because you like vacationing in Disney, because that's where everybody's going, right? Yeah. You got to do a little bit more homework to identify those markets where the level of or I guess the balance between supply and demand is a little bit more healthy.
Yeah. Awesome. So back to the Fast Five. Tony, why is your niche better than other people's?
Yeah, dude, I'll tell you what I love about the short-term rental space. I think the first thing is that you can get outsized returns for a relatively small amount, right? Like some people want to go into commercial and they think about mobile home parks. They think about buying apartment complexes, and you get bigger returns when you do those things, but a lot of times it's more cash out of pocket as well. But I can go out and I can buy a single family short-term rental for 10% down. So if I'm buying it $500,000, it's $50,000 to get this thing. And, I could go out and get a 30% cash on cash return on that even today, if you buy in the right market. So I think that's why the short-term rentals are enticing for me.
Yeah. Beautiful. And then what is your portfolio like today? Like, what's your real estate like?
Yeah, so right now we've got just under 30 single-family homes across those 3 locations, and then we've got the boutique hotel that we launched as well. And we'll do a few $1 million a year in revenue with that portfolio.
Legit.
I love it. So most people listening probably know what short-term rentals are, but can you just do a little bit of a deep dive on that and your exact strategy when it comes to short-term rentals?
Yeah. So first thing I'll say is that there's a few different types of short-term rentals. There's like the kind of old school pre-COVID short-term rental where it's like grandma's furniture and things haven't really been touched since like the 80s. And there was a lot of that on Airbnb beforehand, but I think as more folks has come onto the platform, it's kind of forced you to improve the experience and product that you offer to people. So for us, when we talk about short-term rentals, we focus heavily on design, we focus heavily on experience. So we want to make sure that our properties are the ones that kind of pop when you're scrolling through Airbnb, that kind of make you want to say, hey, what is that? And we add things like game rooms and the in-ground pools we're adding now. And just, those Instagrammable moments are big for the properties that we put together.
Yeah, agreed. Hey, how are you finding a good short-term rental these days?
Yeah, dude. And I guess that's another good thing about the short-term rental space is there are still deals on market that you can buy as a short-term rental. Deals that still pencil. So we buy stuff on market. We buy stuff off market. I love going, and guys, this is actually a pretty cool strategy, but there's a lot of builders who build specifically for short-term rentals. And we've picked up a good chunk of our portfolio by going direct to those builders. And that's been really cool for us because we've been able to buy in volume from the same builder. And we don't have to worry about negotiating on market. We don't have to worry about, the ins and outs of like the whole dance that comes along with the MLS. And the builders get a benefit because they've got built-in buyers and they don't have to worry about working with agents and all that other stuff. So about half of our portfolio right now has come directly from working with builders of short-term rentals.
Awesome. So with funding these deals, like I'm a Burr guy, so I haven't had to really come up with a ton of my own money to build my rental portfolio. But obviously with short-term rentals on market, that's probably a little bit different where you have to put down a down payment and come out of pocket to do the rehab. And so I guess a question for you is, how are you funding these deals? And are you doing like JV splits? Are you partnering with people? How are you coming up with the funds for all these deals?
Yeah. First thing I'll say is that I think sometimes people overestimate how much cash you need to actually buy a short-term rental. And for a lot of us, we take the market that we live in and we apply that to the other markets that are out there. And you guys are obviously in a super expensive market in Hawaii, but like guys, I have a student, he lives in California, not too far from me, bought his first short-term rental in West Virginia. and the purchase price was $130,000. That was a purchase price. His down payment, 10% of that, $13,000, and he just refinanced that property and it appraised for I think like 230. So he was able to pull out the 13,000 that he put into it, right? So he's got nothing into this deal. So find markets where the price point's a little bit softer and you can get into it for a lot less. Now for us, sorry, did you have a question, Brandon?
No, well, I was gonna say, how are you getting the 10%? Is that a special loan?
Yeah, so
10% down.
10% down second home loan. It's a very popular loan amongst short-term rental investors. Now, guys, there are stipulations. You've got to use it yourself for a certain percentage of the year to be able to like stay in the good graces of your lenders. But it is a very popular loan out there. Cool. But going back to the question, right? What was the question? Now you threw me off.
Funding. How do you?
How am I funding it? So for me, guys, I'm in a slightly unique position because I started investing at the same time that I lost my job. So we had like 3 short-term rentals. I wake up and I'm unemployed one day. So for me, like a big part of the money we had set aside for investing in real estate, that now became just like our nest egg to pay the mortgage and keep food on the table. So for me, we lean super heavily into raising money from other people. And we've done that in a multitude of ways. We've done it as like equity partnerships where we're JVing with people. We've done it as debt partnerships where we're just raising the debt and then we're burying these deals. So we've used it in a multitude of ways.
Yeah, very cool. Hey, how did you finance the hotel?
It was a seller finance deal. And that was like a big... That was like the one criteria for us as we were building out our buy box. We said we wanted to buy somewhere between $1 million and $3 million. We wanted seller financing and we wanted value add opportunity. And that deal checked all of those boxes. So we got it on a 10-year note. The first 3 years were interest only. It was a 7% interest rate. So guys, like our mortgage right now, our mortgage payments is like, I don't know, $4,500 a month on this hotel right now. And I have cabins in the Smoky Mountains that, are the same mortgage payment as this 13-year hotel. Like it makes no sense. So seller financing was the way that we took that one down.
Very cool. All right. You kind of already did this, I guess, with the boutique hotel, but can you walk through maybe an example of a short-term rental that you've recently done? What are you buying it for? What are you putting into it? What are you renting it for? What's the kind of cash flow look like?
Yeah, I'll tell you guys about one that actually didn't go according to plan because it was one that we bought. And the goal for us was to flip this property because we did a lot of like single family flips as short-term rentals and we're making a killing doing it. But we bought this property kind of right as interest rates were going up. And we kind of we had some issues with the rehab. It took a long time. Anyway, when we went to go resell, the resale market wasn't there. So we said, do we sell it at a loss? Do we try and keep it? So we decided to keep it. But in order for it to make sense as a short-term rental, we had to invest more money into it to really make it hit our projections, which is kind of counterintuitive, right? Because some people would say, well, you can't sell it for much, or why are you going to invest more into the property? And we went back and forth a lot, but we said, hey, if we want to make the revenue that we're hoping to make, this is what we need to do. So we actually invested an extra $100,000 into this deal to build out like a cool backyard with an in-ground pool and whatever it may be. We have 2 properties on the same street. They're like, I don't know, a few houses down from each other, almost same exact size. One of them doesn't have this in-ground pool. One of them does, right? The one that we spent the extra money on. And during the summer months when it's especially slow in Joshua Tree, we saw literally 2 to 2.5x the revenue on the property with the pool versus the one that didn't have the pool. It's like summer is brutal in JT if you don't have the right amenities. And this big 3-bedroom property, no pool, it's pulling down like $2,000 to $3,000 a month during the super slow seasons. Well, the one with the pool is doing, $10K, $11K, $12K a month. So
that's wild.
It still hurt, right, to have to reinvest money into a deal that we wanted to get rid of, but to see the benefits on the back end of like, okay, at least the plan kind of panned out. It's been working well for us.
One of the things that I love about real estate is how forgiving it can be with things like that. Where I have a guy that's in kind of my coaching program, and he bought a mansion to flip, and I think it was like 6 or 7 bedrooms, and they listed it. They couldn't sell it. Actually listened to one of your podcasts about pad splitting or YouTube, and he was like, all right, I'm gonna invest a little bit more money, turn this into a pad split, and now he's cash flowing on that like $3,500 a month. It's insane. From that. So I love the fact that just real estate, it can be forgiving. There's always a way out. That's
very cool. Hey, by the way, if anybody uses pad split, just mention Brandon Turner sent you, and they're going to send me money. It doesn't cost you anything more, but if you want to put me down as a referral, it's always a good thing. Anyway,
Tony, tell me this: what does the future of of STRs look like? Like, is there any fear for you and the markets that you're in of them instituting some rules to change your business model?
We're not super worried about regulations in our markets because we don't invest in any suburban or urban markets. Like, we are truly in vacation destinations, and
Yeah.
if you shut off short-term rentals in the markets that we operate in, like there's nothing else really driving that economy other than people staying at short-term rentals and spending money locally. So from a regulatory standpoint, we're not too concerned about that. I think the thing that we are concerned about is making sure that again, the markets that we're choosing have some sort of insulation built into them. Like, I'll give you guys an example. Joshua Tree, super hot market. We got a lot of properties out there. One of the top 10 busiest national parks in the United States. However, the challenge with Joshua Tree, have you guys been there before?
I've not.
Me neither.
It's flat land. It's literally the desert, everything looks the same out there. So when you talk about buying properties in a market like that, there's two challenges. First, there's so much room for people to expand.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
You can go in every direction because there's nothing but open desert in every which way. And we've seen that. There's been a lot of new construction in that market. And what we've seen is that even if you rehab a house really nicely, the new construction is just a totally different architectural style. Sometimes it's hard to take a renovated 2000s build and compete against a brand new 2024 build. So that's one thing that we've noticed, is that we want to pick markets where there's some insulation. So if we can go into places where there's, ocean, you can't build past the ocean, right? If there's rivers, if there's some kind of amenity that people want to be close to proximity wise, those are the things we're looking for as we choose markets. And then as we think about the properties, the big piece that we're focusing on now is experience and amenities, right? And how can we make that a bigger part of the properties that we're putting together? And that's why we're doing things like the in-ground pools and game rooms and all these crazy things, because that's how you make yourself stand out. So those are the two big things we're focused on.
So I guess like oversaturation would be a part of that, where they can build out and there's way more Airbnbs in that area that
then, right? Because even if demand is going up, because demand has gone up in like the Joshua Tree market, but so too has supply, right? So you got to make sure that there's some kind of natural barrier to curb supply in those markets as well.
Hey, what are some other like kind of unique challenges with this niche?
Labor is a big one, depending on which market you go into. It hasn't been as bad in like our kind of single family portfolio, but like the hotel that we bought, it's on the backside of Zion, kind of like in the less populated area. And we're on our third property manager in that location since April. We're in October, right? And we're actually in the process of, letting him go as well. So labor has been a big part because you need someone who knows cleaning, you need someone who knows maintenance. So finding the right people is important for that piece as well.
Yeah. Love that. So, okay, what would you say, and you kind of already touched on this with in-ground pools, just different amenities, but what would you say is your guys' biggest secret to success?
Oh, biggest secret. Man, I wish I could give you like the sexy, social media clip right now, but I don't know if there's like one thing where it's like, hey, if you do this, it'll make all the difference. It like being successful in this niche really is a culmination of a lot of things. It's picking the right location. It's picking the right property. And the reason I harp on those things, guys, is because that's where I see most people make the mistakes when they buy a short-term rental, is they literally say, where do I want to vacation? Where do I like to vacation? And let me go there. And just because you like to vacation somewhere doesn't mean that it's actually a profitable place to buy an Airbnb. And then the second thing that I see is people confuse revenue with profits. I can go out to the Orlando market and buy a property for, $1 million, $2 million. It's going to do a whole lot of revenue. But what am I going to have left after I pay all these expenses? And you see people breaking even on these 7-figure, 8-bedroom, 11-bedroom properties because the cost to actually run it is higher than the revenue than you're generating. So for me, choosing the right market, really drilling down on not just the top line, but the bottom line is important as well. And then obviously the operational component, right? We're running small hotels when you're in the short-term rental industry. So being able to understand how do you quickly fix maintenance issues that come up, being able to understand how can I in California hold the cleaner accountable who's 2,000 miles away in Tennessee to make sure that they're fixing the beds the right way and that they're, restocking the K-pods and all those different things. So it's the upfront analysis, but then it's that operational component as well.
Very cool.
Yeah, when it comes to like the maintenance issues, we have we have one Airbnb, and the reason we have that is really just because we want a place to stay when we go back to St. Louis. And out of 60 something single family doors, this one Airbnb probably causes more problems than the other 64 combined. And so like, how have you been able to dial in your systems with 30 plus of them to make it run smoothly and not always be getting maintenance calls and, hey, they did this.
Can't figure out the remote control. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of headaches, I think, because we scaled up, right? And trying to identify what works and what doesn't. But for us, and this is actually one thing that I can tell you that I think makes a big difference on the actual guest management piece, but it's setting clear expectations and instructions for your guests before they get there.
Yep.
So what we have for all of our short-term rentals is a digital guidebook, right? Or like a digital house manual. And inside of that house manual, it's basic things like, hey, what's the check-in code? What's the address for the property? But we take ours a step further where there are videos that you can embed into your digital guidebook. And there's videos of me standing at the front door saying, hey, Tony, I'm Tony, I'm your host. Here's how you use the front door, and you punch in your own unique, right? There's videos of me standing in front of the hot tub saying, here's how you turn the heat up and turn it down. Here's how you operate the fire pit. Here's how you open the pack and play. Here's how you log out of Netflix. So we take a lot of those frequently asked questions, those FAQs. We record videos showing our guests how to solve those issues themselves. And it is a 100% win-win, because now I only have to answer the question once, and our guests get an answer without having to reach out to us or, hop on the phone or try and troubleshoot over FaceTime. So that is one thing that we found to really make the management easier.
True story. I took my TV that I had in my extra unit, my ADU at my last house, and I put it in my living room at this house. And I can't figure out how to log out of Netflix. So it's still like logged into my buddy Libor, who hasn't been there in 3 years, but apparently he logged in 3 years ago. I have no idea how to log out. So if I had a landlord, I would call them and be like, how do I log out of this?
What do I do?
But instead I just watch everything on his Netflix. So anyway, all right.
Love it.
Hey, if somebody wants to get into short-term rentals, what is the absolute first actionable? Like, what's a good next first step? Next first. What about that? Next first.
Yeah. I'll give you two quick ones. I think the first one is really identify if this is the right niche for you, right? Because it is definitely not for everyone. And if you don't like the idea of offering customer service on a daily basis to people, then this probably isn't the right niche for you, right?
Yeah.
So I think answer that question first, like make sure that it's the right thing for you. But if you've gone through that and you've decided like, hey, short-term rentals are what I really want to do, there are 4 steps you got to move through. First, you got to choose the right location. And that goes into a lot of what we talked about today. People overcomplicate this, but guys, the easiest and simplest way, look for, especially if you want to do this low risk, look for states where the median home price is less than the national average. There's like 20 states, I think, that are below median average right now. In any one of those states, just Google things to do in Arkansas, right? And you'll see a bunch of the things that people are doing in that neck of the woods. And then just start looking for potential properties in that market to see what works. It is that simple. People overcomplicate the process of choosing a city. You need demand, you need good policies, and as long as you can check those boxes, you're fine. Choose your market, then analyze deals. Do not rely on the analysis that the agent is giving you. You want your own analysis, right? You want to do your own homework. And then from there, set it up the right way, good design, good amenities, and then build out your management practices. So those 4 steps: markets, analysis, setup, and management.
Love that. Perfect. Hey, we gotta wrap it up. But before we do, where can people find you at, hear more from you?
Yeah. So we're all over the place, but if you guys search Tony J. Robinson on Instagram, the Real Estate Robinsons on YouTube, I cover Bigger Pockets Real Estate Rookie podcast as well. So you guys can find me in all those places.
Perfect. You do a great job over there, man. It was nice to pass the torch to you to lead the charge at Bigger Pockets. I love it. Man.
I appreciate it, man.
Killing it.
Big shoes to fill, huh?
You're doing great, man. All right. Appreciate you. Thank you so much for being on Cash Flow Friday. And Tony, we'll have to hang out in person again soon after all our babies are born.
Yeah. All right. We'll see you guys soon.
Thanks, Johnny. See ya.
And that, my people, is the show. Thank you for tuning in. And hey, before you go, if you enjoyed the episode or if you enjoy the show in general, please consider leaving us a rating and review wherever you listen to podcasts. We really do value your feedback, and we read the comments. We make future decisions about topics and guests and everything else. Plus, it helps us reach more people the more reviews we get. And last but not least, please head over to social media. Consider friending and following and subscribing to all that stuff at Better Life and my personal page at Beardy Brandon, Instagram, YouTube, and everywhere else. Thank you again for listening. I'm honored that you would bring me along on your journey toward building wealth through real estate investing without losing your soul.